Okay, this video log is going to be about how much power is consumed by the valve train. Should be pretty interesting. Going to have all the usual stuff. Do a little bit of stuff with the Samba. Go look at an academic paper. What else have I got in there? Take a look at some manufacturer websites. And got out a spreadsheet. I've only done one of these where I didn't do a spreadsheet, so spreadsheet would be good too. So yeah, valve train power. How much does it suck up? And why would you want to stick with stock springs? Should be interesting. Let's go. Yeah, I know. I'm the only VW guy on the web who posts videos where you have to go to a Wikipedia. Let's take a look. Let me see if I can slide up and show you what this says. Yes. Where is it? There it is. Wikipedia. Potential energy. So let's get down to the important part. There it is. Okay, so we come down here and we've got the potential energy for a linear spring. Well, what drives our valve train? A linear spring. So, anyway, the energy, 1/2 K, that would be the spring constant, pounds per inch. As you displace it, you squeeze it, pounds per how much displacement you got. And the x squared term right here, in other words, you start here, you press it this much, you've covered this much space. In that much space, you get a certain amount of energy. It's proportional to the square of how far you've squeezed your valve. Which makes sense. I mean, the basic energy equation for velocity is 1/2 mv squared. This happens to be displacement squared, and the K substitutes for mass. But we're going to use that in the spreadsheet. That's where it comes from. So otherwise it's known as Hooke's law. This is Hooke's law. I had that. Now we're also going to need to know how efficient the valve train is. As you go from very fast, if you look at this thing, this is 4,000 RPM at the camshaft. In other words, this is an 8,000 RPM motor. Incidentally, this happens to be an academic paper, and this is a graph of some results that these guys did while studying a direct acting valve train, just like we have. So it's about the closest that I could come up with. But what's important here is that as you go faster, this is efficiency basically. You're more efficient as you go down here. As you draw closer to RPM limit, you get more and more efficient. As you go back towards idle, this is idle back here, you get less efficient. And in my spreadsheet, I'm just going to connect these 2 points with a line. And it's going to be good enough. I mean, a lot of the stuff is just guess. It's going to be in the ballpark. But if I connect this with a line, that's we got that, you know, that takes care of that one piece. The other thing you have to ask yourself is how much less efficient is it down here? Well, if you look at this and you say, well, if this is 80 and it's they've normalized this thing, so this is 80%, we'll just call that 80. And you come down here at the top end, this is 40. So if that was 80 and this is 40, that makes it twice as efficient when you hit close to red line as it is back here at idle. So I'm going to take that kind of a line and I'm going to stick it into my spreadsheet. You also have to come up with what are the spring constants. So anyway, if you go over to Samba, this guy Modoc, he's pretty competent guy, and I had to take some constants from something, right? So here's a rough idea what the springs are. Stock 120 to 130 pounds open, and some heavy duties. 170, 190. We're not going to do duals, we're just looking at these guys. And there's a reason why I don't want to just look at the stocks. I want to look at these heavy duty springs. Let's take a look. Because you come over to the Samba, got to go to the Samba, right? Anyway, I've got a guy who's got a 1600 twin-port Beetle, dual 34 carburetors. I have dual 34s. The Hoffy W guys did dual 34s. An angle 100 cam, which is not terribly aggressive. It's not super stock. It's just a little tiny bit past stock, but that's not terrible. And he's got 1 1/4 ratio rockers, which I have. So I've got slightly more displacement. I've got a little bit less cam, but I got dual carbs and 125s. And the guy asked the question, do I need to upgrade the valve springs, or are the stock springs okay to use? And the answer from the first guy is no, stock is fine. Okay, fantastic. But the next guy says more damage is done from not having enough spring than from having too much. All right, now I don't want to listen to this guy because his grammar is incorrect. That needs to be a than, T-H-A-N, not a T-H-E-N. But anyway, he says, basically, dual carbs and 125s, you need to upgrade. So if you go over to the Samba and you tell them what you're going to do, because you don't trust me, you're going to get guys like this telling you that you have to do your heavy duties. You have to do doubles or heavy duties. This guy, he's fine with what you're doing. This guy wants you to do doubles. And if you dig down through this stuff, you're going to find that there's a big battle. Yes, you need them. No, you don't need them. Let's take a look at one more guy. Okay, this guy has had an epiphany. I'm in my 40s now. When I started VWs in the late 80s, there was no internet. I read How to Hot Rod, air-cooled VWs. I read all the catalogs. I read Berg, Small Car Specialty, CB Performance. I read the factory service manuals. I came away from all that with the idea that I needed hundreds and hundreds of pounds of valve spring over the nose, or I would spend eternity in valve float hell. He says, I have a spring problem, but I'm working on it. I recently realized that an engine I built went together with 450 pounds over the nose. This is his cam. I had come to believe the cams and lifters were meant to be changed like oil filters. This guy listened to everybody who said, no, valve float, valve float. They listened to that other guy who said, you know, you got to have too much, you got to put that in there, you're going to float. Anyway, I had an epiphany recently, thanks to my friend Grok, who's another poster over here at the SAMA, that I need to lighten my valve train, not strengthen my springs. So later on in the video, I'm going to tell you a couple of tricks that you can do to lighten your valve train. Anyway, he does not need to install these crazy coils. Anyway, there's some interesting reading on the Samba. Let us now venture on to the spreadsheet. Hang on. There it is, the spreadsheet. Okay, so first of all, we have to do a couple of things. Let's take a little inventory of what we've got here. We have the car seat cam, which is pretty darn close to stock lift. I've got stock springs, heavy duty springs. I got a cheater cam. We all know the cheater cam. That's the one Hoppy W guys used. Alright, this is a webcam 127 IE, which is actually milder than stock. It may have pretty aggressive ramps, but its lift is milder than stock. Anyway, you come over here, these are the lift values. Stock and car seat are around 0.32, the cheater cam 0.359, and the webcam 0.304. So, we've got lift. Now we've got to come down to springs. So I've got a stock spring, which is about 80 pounds of installed force. You do not call it pressure. It is not pressure. Pressure is what you put into your tires. It's called air pressure. This is called force. It's called 80 pounds force. It's not pressure. All right. When it's opened and you're at the nose, sorry, not at the nose, but as you open it, it's 115 pounds per inch. It's the deformation, the increase as you stretch it up by an inch. Anyway, you move over to heavy duties, and these are the numbers that I got from the Modoc off the Samba. Anyway, he's got 120 installed pressure. Sorry, pressure. It needs to be force. 120 pounds force, and 143 pounds per inch. These numbers might be a little bit mild. I'm just trying to be conservative and not put the numbers over there and make them too big. Anyway, you have to come back over here. We've got ratio rockers. We've got lift at the valve. We've got an operating RPM, 3,200 to go down the highway at 65. We have 8 valves per cylinder. Valve springs that are stock should get you to about 5,000. So I've got an RPM limit of 5,000. Now, remember, you had to go back to that graph that I got from the academic paper that showed the curve that kind of went like that. So it started at about 4,000, went to 500. There was a straight line, right? So that representation of 4,000 matches my 5. And I've got built into this thing, I've got an idle spec of somewhere in there. I think I built it in at 1,000 RPM. Anyway, no mechanical system is going to be beyond about 85%. So I've got 0.85 for peak efficiency. I've got idle efficiency of about 50%. Now you remember that graph where the efficiency got roughly 50% worse. So technically I should be down at about 0.42 or 0.43, something like that at idle. So I'm being generous and giving idle efficiency a little bit of a boost. Anyway, at 3,200, along that curve, between 50%, 85%, 3200 gives you an operating efficiency at that point of about 67%. I've got seat force, 80, 80, and I've got my spring in pounds per inch, 115. So I've got my stock spring installed here on the stock or car seat cam. And then you come down here and you say, well, you have to determine how much work is being done. We all remember, hopefully everybody remembers what work is. Force applied over a distance. I have a force, I apply it over a distance, which is the lift at the valve, and I end up with some work. Of course, we've got this. Now, if you've got to break it into two pieces. Well, you don't have to, but I did. Anyway, there's the baseline work, and then there's the work as you push open the valve. It's a little triangular piece. This is like a block, and this is like a triangle, and you add the two pieces, and you get that. So the total amount of work to open a valve, pound-feet, inch per cycle. And then we want that in pounds foot per cycle. And the formula for horsepower would give you this right here. I wonder if I can actually bring that up. I think it's 33,000. I don't have it. Anyway, I think it's in the vicinity of 33,000 pound-feet per minute is a horsepower. So we're beyond that, which means the spring horsepower is 1.14. Now, at 85% efficiency, that means I have to put into the system 1.71 horsepower, which means you lost 0.57 horsepower. Okay, I've read people who think, it's like, well, you push the spring up and the energy is stored, and then the cam falls over to the backside, and you push down on the backside of the cam lobe, and you get all your energy back. No, you don't. You don't get your energy back. That's what the academic paper was for, to show you that there's an efficiency curve. Anyway, 0.57 horsepower. So we come back over here, and you ask yourself, well, I've got to run some kind of a spring, but I might want to run some ratio rockers on there. So it looks like it takes about 1/10 of a horsepower. Incidentally, these numbers are this is just a table of numbers that I've run through the system. So this is just a table of stuff. So to go from 1.1s to 125s, it takes about 1/10 of a horsepower. To go from the 125s to the 1.4s takes about another 1/10 of a horsepower. And you can just kind of run your way through the cheater cam. Takes about an extra 1/10 of a horsepower. The really low lift cam does not take too much less horsepower. But I wouldn't run this thing over here without a ratio rocker anyway, so I would definitely want to run a 125, but I'm thinking of doing something like this on my 1974 with a cam that's similar to this and running 1.4 rockers, which gets me to right there, which gets me comparable to the cheater cam in energy. It gets me comparable to the car seat in energy. So all of this stuff works pretty darn well. But look at the, like I say, look at the powers that you lose. If you went to the heavy-duty spring, as somebody's going to tell you to do, it's like, oh, you got those high-performance goodies, you're going to have to go to heavy-duty spring. 5.7 to 95, that's almost 4/10 of a horsepower. Okay, you go down here, that's an entire half of a horsepower, and this is like, about a half a horsepower. So that's what it's going to take you to jump to those heavy-duty valve springs. Is in the vicinity of 1/2 a horsepower driving down the highway. And if you go back and look at my videos about the power consumptions and benefits of efficiency and whatnot, getting a 1/2 a horsepower is really hard to do. So this is such an easy thing to do, to put the heavy-duty springs on. It's so easy to lose the 1/2 horsepower, and you don't need to do it. You've got to run something, and it only takes about 1/10 of a horsepower more to do this, and about another 1/10 of a horsepower to go to the 1.4s. So it's up to you. You want a little more power from your system, you will sacrifice a little bit of mileage. 2/10 of a horsepower is not too much. If it takes 23 horsepower to go down there, and you've got 2/10 of an increase, what is that? It's a 1% change in mileage. It's hardly measurable. But 1/2 a horsepower, that starts to chew into things. You don't want to do that. No heavy-duty valve springs. All right, let's move on. Okay, now, in order to combat the guys who are going to tell you that you need to run all those heavy-duty valve springs, again, it's better to be smart about doing things. Don't just shove a heavy-duty spring in there. Get smart. Buy yourself some titanium valve spring retainers. Okay? I have them in my car. The Hobby W guys put them in their car. That's not terrible. $74.95. That's not a horrible price to pay. That's not the only thing you can do, though. Let's jump over here to another component. Lightweight racing lifters. Alright, these are 30 millimeter. The stock head, this little piece right here, is 29 millimeters. So these have got slightly bigger heads than those, even though they're lighter. They actually make these in 28 millimeters, which I think would be a fantastic thing to do. And they're even lighter than those 30s. 28 millimeters, 110 bucks. Alright, lighten your valve train. Don't go heavy duty valve springs. Don't go double springs. Don't listen to the Samba when they tell you you've got dual carburetors, you got ratio rockers, you're going to need heavy duty valve springs. No, don't listen to them. Alright, we're not done lightening our valve train. We need to move on a little bit more. Here's one you guys have not thought about. Titanium screws. These are for bicycles. Anyway, these are the adjusting nuts that you can put on your rocker arms. So you can pull the steel ones that you have off and put on some super lightweight titaniums. And what's neat about this is that they sit at the high speed end of your valve rocker. You know, so they make a big difference up at that end. You know, it's like those titanium retainers. Very good idea. And cheap. Where's the price? The 4 pieces, you'd have to buy a double set of this. So for 32 bucks, you could get yourself some titanium screws for holding your little tapettes down there. Okay, I thought that one went pretty well. I don't know what the time on it is. I guess we'll get to that point eventually. One second. That's probably going to be about 10 minutes. Anyway, that one makes sense. Single springs, half a horsepower. Half a horsepower if you move up to heavy-duty valve springs. That's a pretty severe penalty. That's something that you don't want to do. And those heavy-duty springs, one, you don't need them. You've got, it's a mileage motor. Come on, be reasonable with yourself. Don't spin it past 5,000. I mean, you put the Go Fast goodies on there with enough compression, you can hit 5,000. Don't do that. Just build it and keep your foot off the gas. You know, be smart about it. Be smart rather than being dumb and sticking heavy duties or doubles in there. Anyway, I hope that one was fun. It took a long time in the making. I started that one back in January. That was a long time in the making. Anyway, I kind of did this one in honor of having almost 200 subscribers. So if you're a subscriber, thanks for subscribing. What is it that Mike F. in Garage says? He says, please like, share, and subscribe. There you go. I'll do more. Out.